Dear friends, English Literature, Introduction to Drama, Answer the Man by George Bernard Shaw, Brief Questions with Answers. Brief Questions 151 to 195. Question 151. How does Petkov feel in his military coat? Answer. Petkov feels uncomfortable in his military coat. In his military coat, he feels as if he were on parade, inspecting some soldiers. Question 152. Am I to believe my own eyes or not? Who says this and why? Answer. Petkov says this. He does not find the old coat in the blue closet where it usually remained hanging. But his wife, Catherine, insists that it must be hanging there. So Petkov wonders whether he is to believe his eyes or not. Question 153. Whom does Catherine send to bring the old coat from the blue closet? Answer. Catherine sends Nicola to bring the old coat from the blue closet. Question 154. What does Petkov bet Catherine on the old coat? Answer. Petkov bets that if the old coat is found in the blue closet, he will buy for Catherine any piece of jewelry she chooses from Sofia. But if it is not found there, she will have to forego a week's housekeeping money. Question 155. How does Sergius enter into the bed on the old coat? Answer. Sergius bets that if the old coat is found in the blue closet, Petkov will have to give Raina an Arab mare. And if the coat is not found there, Sergius, will give Petkov his best war horse. Question 156. Why does Bluntschli persuade Petkov not to enter into the bed on the old coat? Answer. Bluntschli persuaded Petkov not to enter into the bed because he is sure that Petkov will lose the bet. Question 157. What loses the bet on the old coat and why? Answer. Petkov loses the bet when he went to the blue closet and the coat was not placed there, so he did not find the coat. Afterwards, the coat was placed there by Catherine, so Nicola finds the coat there. Question 158. Why does Petkov say he is getting a hallucination? Answer. Petkov did not find his old coat in the blue closet, but Nicola found it there. So Petkov thinks that he is aging and getting hallucination. Question 159. What an army! Who says this and why? Answer. Bluntschli ironically says this about the Bulgarian army. They are no fit for army. They try to make cannons out of soft cherry trees. The officers cannot keep discipline among the soldiers. Bluntschli ridiculously says, what an army. Question 160. Why does Bluntschli say that the Bulgarian officers sent for their wives to keep discipline? Answer. Making necessary arrangements for the disposal of the Bulgarian soldiers on behalf of Petkov, Bluntschli gave a strict order that the escorts must not wait a single minute on the way. As Petkov goes, he asks for his wife's help, thinking that the soldiers will be more frightened by her presence than by his. So, Bluntschli says that the Bulgarian officers sent for their wives to keep discipline among the soldiers. Question 161. What is the capital story? Why is Raina deeply concerned about the story? Answer. The story of Bluntschli's midnight adventure in Raina's bedroom is the capital story. Raina is deeply concerned about the story because she thinks that if Sergius comes to know that the lady who gave Bluntschli shelter in her bedroom is Raina herself, Sergius, will kill him in a duel, and her relationship with Sergius will be affected. Question 162. On what occasions does Raina tell lies? Answer. Raina tells lies twice. Number A, when she hid him behind the curtains of her bedroom, she lied to the Russian officer that he was not there. Number B, the story of the ice pudding was her second lie. Question 163. Why does Raina tell lies on two occasions? Answer. Raina tells lies on both occasions to have Bluntschli live, to save Bluntschli's life. On the first occasion, to save his life from the hands of the Russian officer, and on the second occasion from the hands of Sergius. Question 164. What two things, according to Bluntschli, happened to a soldier? Answer. One is hearing people tell lies, and the other is getting his life saved in all sorts of ways by all sorts of people. Question 165. Do you like gratitude? I don't. Why doesn't Bluntschli like gratitude? Answer. According to Bluntschli, gratitude is akin to hatred. He means that when we are grateful to a person for some benefit, we feel hatred towards him. So Bluntschli does not like gratitude. Question 166. That is how men think of women. Who says this and to whom? How do men think of women? And so Raina says this to Bluntschli. Raina here means that men think that women always tell lies. Question 167. You said you told only two lies in your whole life. What is Bluntschli's reaction to Raina's two lies in her whole life? Answer. Bluntschli cannot believe her. He thinks that two lies are not sufficient for one's whole life. In his case, he lies more than two in a whole morning. Question 168. Do you know, sir, that you are insulting me? Who is the speaker? How does this person speak to insult the speaker? Answer. Raina is the speaker. She tells Bluntschli that she has told two lies in her whole life. Bluntschli straightforwardly tells her that two lies cannot keep one going the whole life. So she feels insulted. Question 169. How did you find me out? Who says this? What is the meaning of the sentence? Answer. Raina says this to Bluntschli. The meaning of the sentence is, how did Bluntschli know the real nature of her telling lies? Question 170. How did Bluntschli know Raina's real nature of telling lies? Answer. Bluntschli knew Raina's real nature of telling lies by his common sense and experience of the world. Question 171. I've always gone on like that. Who says this? What does the speaker mean here? Answer. Raina says this. She here means that she has always kept her romantic attitude, that is her artificial poses. Question 172. He believes in it. Who says this? Who is he? What does he believe in? Answer. Raina says this. He is Sergius and believes in Raina's artificial romantic poses. Question 173. Does Bluntschli despise Raina after knowing her real nature of romantic poses? Answer. No. He thinks that her romantic poses is a part of her youth and charm. So he admires her blindly instead of despising her. Question 174. What is meant by hand of heart? Answer. It means hand on heart. I used to indicate what is said is strictly true. Question 175. Oh, how could you be so stupid? Why does Raina calls Bluntschli so stupid? Answer. When Raina gave his father's old coat to Bluntschli, she placed her photo in his pocket so that she could get it. But Bluntschli acted foolishly in not looking into the pocket of the coat and did not get the photo. So Raina calls him stupid. Question 176. So I pawned you. What does Bluntschli pawn? Why? Answer. Bluntschli pawned mortgages the old coat of Petkov because he could not keep it with him all the time while fighting in the battlefield. Besides, soldiers looted other people's things while flyaways from the battlefield. Question 177. You have a low shopkeeping mind. Who has a low shopkeeping mind? Why? Answer. Bluntschli has a low shopkeeping mind because he had mortgaged the coat of Petkov with a pawnbroker. To Raina, mortgaging a thing is bad habit of low-class people, and a shopkeeper is always guided by his profit and loss. Thus, Bluntschli has a low mind of shopkeeper as he mortgaged the coat. Question 178. Oh, bad news. What is the bad news? Who receives the bad news and how? Answer. Bluntschli received the bad news of his father's death through a telegram delivering to him by Loka. Question 179. What is Bluntschli's reaction to the news of his father's death? Answer. Bluntschli is not moved by the news of his father's death. He is a practical-minded man, so he calmly receives the news, remarking that his father has left him a lot of things. Question 180. What does Loka say about Bluntschli's reaction to the news of his father's death? Well, answer. Loka says that he does not lament for the death of his father. He has no soft feeling in his heart. He says that to hurt Raina, that he has no tender feelings for her, Raina. Question 181. What does Raina remark on the unmoving attitude of Bluntschli towards the news of his father's death? Answer. Raina remarks that a soldier who is accustomed to killing men in the battlefield can have no soft feelings at somebody's death. Question 182. How does Nicola get additional 30 livres? Answer. Sergius tips Nicola 20 livres out of sheer boastfulness and a sense of his superiority, and Bluntschli gives him 10 livres for backing up Catherine and Raina's lies about him. Question 183. A fool and his money are soon parted. Who says this and why? Answer. Nicola says this. He thinks that Bluntschli gives him 10 livres for a real service done to him, but Sergius gives him 20 livres out of sheer boastfulness for no service done to him. So Sergius is a fool who wastes his money foolishly. Question 184. What does Nicola want to do with the additional 30 livres? Answer. Nicola wants to save 20 livres in order to open a shop in Sofia and to give 10 livres to Loka to spend if she treats him like a human being instead of like a servant. Question 185. What is meant by Loka when she says, you shall never be master in mine? Answer. Here she plainly means that Nicola will never be the lord of her house, but here she indirectly hints that she will never marry him. Question 186. Why does Nicola want Loka to marry Sergius? Answer. Nicola finds Loka very ambitious, so if she marries the rich Sergius, she will be a profitable customer when he will open a shop in Sofia. If he himself marries herself, she will waste his hard-earned money by her fashionable ways of life. So he wants her to marry Sergius. Question 187. Who makes Loka beautiful and charming like a fine Russian lady? How? Answer. Nicola makes her beautiful and charming like a fine Russian lady by teaching her how to cleanse her nails, keep her hands clean, by knit and by making her give up wearing false black hair on her head and reddening her lips and cheeks. Question 188. What advice does Nicola give to Loka to become a lady? Answer. He advises her that if she wants to be a lady, she must be ladylike, dignified, and decent in her manners and attitude. To shine as a lady, she must act in conformity with her position. Question 189. It gives her habits above her station. Who says this to whom and about whom? Well, answer. Nicola says this to Sergius about Loka. Nicola says that Loka comes to the library whenever she gets a chance to look at the books. This habit of Loka raises her above her position of a maidservant. He says this to make her attractive to Sergius. His purpose is to help Loka to entrap Sergius. Question 190. I wonder, you are really a brave man. Who is the speaker? What does the speaker want to indicate in this question? Answer. Loka is the speaker. She wants to indicate that if Sergius is really brave enough to marry a maidservant, Loka. Question 191. Yes, I am a brave man. How does Sergius prove that he is a brave man? Answer. Sergius proves that he is a brave man, referring to his cavalry charge against a battery of machine guns at the Battle of Slipninja. Question 192. What is Sergius' idea about a brave man? Answer. According to Sergius, the man who fights to death any power, earthly or heavenly, that opposes his will and conscience is really a brave man. Question 193. What is Loka's idea about courage? Answer. According to Loka, courage is to assert one's will against all oppositions. Question 194. How would Reina prove her courage if she were the Empress of Russia? Answer. If she were the Empress of Russia, she would prove her courage by marrying a person of inferior ranks if she happened to fall in love with him. Question 195. Who informed Sergius that Reina is going to marry Bluntschli? Answer. Loka informed Sergius that Reina is going to marry Bluntschli. Thank you friends for watching my video.